The iMac reviews are out, so much more Apple Silicon Mac news for you, and more on Lossless Apple music on AirPods. It's today's Apple Daily, and there might actually be too much news for you to handle. This video is supported by NordPass, letting you store all of your passwords in one place, organise your logins and private notes in a secure password vault, and access it all with a single master password. And with NordPass's data breach scanner, you can find out if your online account or credit card information has been leaked. Right now, NordPass has their spring forward sale too until June the 1st, 2021, so my audience can get 70% off NordPass at nordpass.com/iCave or use the code iCave. Plus, you'll get an additional month of NordPass for free. Thank you to NordPass for sponsoring this video. I'm iCaveDave and simplify Apple so that everything just works for you, and if you want the latest Apple news, leaks and rumours every weekday at 12 UTC, like this video, subscribe to the channel and ring that bell so you don't miss a thing. And I have to go through it quickly because there's so much to talk about today. First up, the iMac reviews are out and everyone thinks they're kind of cool. MKBHD had this real hot take that he didn't really like the chin, which was pretty revolutionary as opinions go. The colours seem to look way better in real videos versus the Apple renders, and iJustine unboxed every single one of them. Like, Apple could have just sent me one of those. She didn't need all of them. I would have been so nice about it too. But, you know what? There's so much cool stuff to talk about today that I can't dwell on other people unboxing iMacs that I didn't get to play with. And before we get into the next bit of news, Chad, you have joined the notification squad. Thank you so much. If you want to join, ring the bell when you subscribe to the channel and let me know with hashtag notification squad down in the comments. And basically everything I was going to talk about in today's video has had an iCaveAnswers question asked about it, so we're going to kind of format the show that way. So first up,
RiggsSec asks, do you have any thoughts on Bloomberg's next-gen Apple SoC article? Could you estimate the performance if this is based off of M1 architecture?
Why yes, I have thoughts. So Mark Gurman over at Bloomberg, his article that came out yesterday told us about MacBook Pros launching around the middle of the year, and if that doesn't mean June, I don't know what does. He also says later in the article, as soon as this summer, and I believe that summer officially begins on June 21st, once again mentioning the 14-inch and 16-inch models with code names J314 and J316 respectively. And by the way, all the renders you're going to be seeing over the next little chunk of this video are going to be from Apple tomorrow because, let's be honest, if we need Apple renders, he's the man we go to. Gurman is also reconfirming the redesigned chassis with the HDMI, SD card slot and support for MagSafe, all returning to their Pro notebooks. Now, some more juicy stuff. For the MacBook Pros, maybe M1X isn't what we thought. According to Mark, Apple is planning two different chips, the Jade C-Chop and Jade C-Die. 8 performance cores with just 2 energy efficiency cores for a total of 10, and 16 or 32 core GPU options. So this goes against what I expected, as I was pretty sure there was only going to be one graphics option here, but if that's what they're doing, then that's what they're doing. I'm happy to be wrong if it means we get better Macs. I do also think it's interesting that the low-power Ice Storm cores have been cut down to 2. I wonder if this, rather than any production issues, is actually what's delayed these chips more than anything else. It may well be that Apple has seen from real-world use that 4 Ice Storm cores were actually underutilised in reality, so reducing the complexity here allowed better yields on the production, which would reduce the overall costs because of lower failure rates. Now, I'm pretty sure that this 10-core layout won't particularly impact the peak performance of the SoC overall, so I pretty much stand by the predictions that we made previously. I think I was expecting around 14,150 on Geekbench for the multi-core score, and I still think we'll be north of 14,000, and I think that Luke Miani has put his bet around 13,500, so my prediction is in pretty good company. Oh, and by the way, these are said to top out at 64 gigabytes of unified memory too, which is a big concern that a lot of people had, as well as having extra Thunderbolt ports and an improved neural engine to boot. There's also a new Mac Mini codenamed J374 on the way too, with the same processor according to Gurman's Bloomberg article, although there is no mention of whether this will get both GPU options, or if this is also due as soon as the summer. But come on, surely this is the easiest extra product to just throw a new chip in, like they did in November, when nobody was expecting it apart from me. So, have you guys had enough of Apple Silicon news, or would you like to hear about the new Mac Pro as well? You do want to hear about that? Okay, cool. Gurman also has Jade 2C die and Jade 4C die mentioned. 20 and 40 core versions of the Apple Silicon SoCs with 4 efficiency and 16 performance, or 8 and 32 core options, which would also include 64 and 128 core GPUs. Now, these are different configurations to the ones that we mentioned previously when we did our video predicting the performance, but the fact that these are simple doubles of both the performance and efficiency cores suggests that it could actually be a twin SoC option, though that is completely unconfirmed at this point. We've also heard via John Prosser that Apple could have an all-out last gasp Intel Mac Pro coming before they finally move on from the Intel era, but Mark Gurman, who's previously mentioned this, hasn't noted this at all in yesterday's article. Now, it might be that he just was only talking about Apple Silicon, but it seems strange that he wouldn't have mentioned it. Mark Gurman also mentions that there is a larger iMac coming with Apple's own silicon in a line that kind of adds no detail at all, but also surprises nobody. And finally, yes, I know that was a lot, and finally, and yes, I know this has been a lot already, Mark says that the higher-end MacBook Air is planned for as soon as the end of this year, with a direct successor to the M1, codenamed as Statin. I assume the island and not the blood pressure medication. This would have the same number of processor cores as the M1 with 4 and 4 for efficiency and 4 performance, but possibly 9 to 10 GPU cores up from 7 to 8, and obviously using the A15 cores that are going to be a bit quicker. Should we call this M2? Cool. Mark Gurman also notes that a 13-inch MacBook Pro update might well come with the same chip in it. So yes, that was a lot of Apple Silicon news. What was the most exciting part for you, and is there anything you don't believe will happen in there? Let me know down in the comments, and hit like while you're there too, please. And let's get into some more iCave answers.
Machine Tool asks, will we see MacBook Pro 14 inches and 16 inches in late 2021? As well as a second update to MacBook 16 inches this year?
Really don't think we will. I think we're only going to be seeing one update to it this year, which will be the one that we've just been mentioning, which is going to be the middle of the year. And I think we're going to get a mid-year update for the Pro stuff and an end-of-the-year update around the same time as the iPhones for the base level kind of efficiency stuff, if that makes sense. I think we've kind of covered this in the past. Hopefully that makes sense, and I think that's what they're going to be doing. And moving on to a new bit of subject material.
Evan Rogers asks, do you think Apple will release a new AirPods product with lossless playback capabilities via Lightning cable? Perhaps an AirPods Studio for $1,000, haha.
So let's talk about that. I had a feeling that we could be seeing studio pods, because Air means wireless when they're talking about it in these kind of contexts, but John Prosser on the Genius Bar podcast has said that we should be patient for lossless support on AirPods Max, AirPods Pro and AirPods, as there could well be an update coming to the line that will make use of AirPlay instead of Bluetooth. And that sudden announcement of Apple Music with the lossless audio being something to do with Spotify being about to testify at the Apple versus Epic trial. He suggests that Apple are potentially holding off this wireless lossless streaming until the case is over to show that they're not dominating the audio market and that other companies can compete in the headphone market, just like how the Find My network was opened up to other companies ahead of that AirTags launch. The suggestion that lossless audio could actually be coming to Apple's base AirPods is pretty amazing sounding, actually. So fingers crossed that we'll actually see that happening pretty soon. But the idea is that these would use AirPlay rather than using Bluetooth to send the audio across. Now, I didn't know that the chips in these are capable of Wi-Fi. I thought they were purely Bluetooth chips, but maybe that's not the case. Very interesting if that is true. And yeah, Wi-Fi has got a lot more bandwidth to it than Bluetooth does. So if there's going to be a way of doing it, that's going to be the way. And there has already been a firmware update issued for a lot of AirPods, which doesn't appear to do anything at the moment. So I wonder if that's going to be activated on the other side all of a sudden. And into some regular iCave answers. And remember, if you want to ask a question, all you need to do, use the hashtag iCaveAnswers down in the comments section, and I'll answer it in the video for you.
Dwayne Alfred asks, how we take advantage of this lossless audio in your vehicle? I have an aftermarket setup, and will love to maximize this in my vehicle.
So in the announcement for the Apple Music updates, Apple did mention CarPlay, but I think that is more for just the fact that you can use Apple Music in there. I don't think it's specifically meant for hi-fi audio or for spatial audio in particular. But that being said, in general, to get lossless in your car, I think you would need to have a kind of lossless capable head unit in your car. I don't know how common they are. It's not one of my specialist areas. But if there's anyone out there that knows more about this than me, please post up down in the comments, because I would love to get some more info on this. I had a quick look online and I couldn't see too much about it. So, community, I'm opening this one up to you guys.
Teen Kinetics asks, what kind of performance and use cases would you like to see from Apple Silicon GPU cores and high-end Macs? Also bring the sass.
Now, I know in the sort of added context that you gave for this question, you were asking if Apple could get something to rival a 3080, the RTX 3080, which is one of NVIDIA's like top-of-the-line cards. I think the 3090 is the highest performance one. We did our predictions video where we looked at what the 128 core graphics would perform like if it scaled, I think, in about 75% increases when you doubled the cores, which I think is fairly reasonable. And that would put it between a 3080 and a 3090 in terms of performance on the 128 core version, which would be a Mac Pro style thing. We're not talking like in a MacBook here, but pretty impressive nonetheless. In terms of what we think it could do, I mean, graphics is pretty much about just massive performance and doing a huge amount of quite simple calculations in parallel so that you can kind of render stuff on the fly. I mean, Apple has kind of proven themselves with M1 quite a lot. I can't wait to see what the next generation does. I just think it's going to be very, very performant. I do hope that game developers do come over to the Mac platform, because it's going to make a lot of sense for people. And I think these next generation of Apple's Pro silicon chips are just going to blow even more minds than M1 did.
Evan Rogers asks, how well does the Magic Trackpad 2 replace a traditional mouse?
Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I've never used the Magic Trackpad 2. I am still using a Magic Trackpad 1. So this is the one that uses AA batteries. So I tend to use that with rechargeable batteries to try and minimize the kind of amount of waste that we're chucking out. But I love using the trackpad rather than a mouse. I do have a mouse hooked up, but it's kind of tucked out the way under there. I tend to use that occasionally for like Photoshop and things like that, but most of the time I'll use the trackpad for everything. That's the original one that's kind of clicky. It's a little bit annoying because when you click it down, sometimes it kind of gets stuck down, and that's really why I would like to move up to one of the Magic Trackpads 2. But I'm hoping that they're going to bring out funky colours once those iMacs actually get landing with people on Friday. That's when I think they're probably going to go on sale. I just think Apple didn't want to put them on pre-order because it's a bit of a weird thing to pre-order a keyboard or a trackpad. So I think they're going to be coming pretty soon. But honestly, I love using the trackpad, especially as a video editor. Being able to swipe across the timeline, moving sideways as well as up and down, is just, it's one of those things that you just don't get with a regular mouse in most cases. I know there are mice out there that you can swipe sideways, or you can kind of scroll sideways with either a jog wheel on top, something like that. But honestly, it's so intuitive with this, and I use the gestures all the time to get into different things, especially using multiple desktops. Yeah, I'm a massive fan of using the trackpad over a mouse. Anyway, thank you so much for watching today's show. I know it's been packed, so please leave your comments down in the comment section below here. You can ask me anything you want about Apple. Love answering your questions. I think we're going to have a busy week, because today we're going to get iPad Pro reviews with M1 inside from the tech community at large. And who knows, maybe later in the week we might see some new AirPods too. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.